Hey, deserving listeners, let's watch episode 6 of season 1 of Love is Blind. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor, and I've been a couples therapist and a professor of couple therapy for over 20 years. And this show, Love is Blind, is very interesting to me because, well, I just have a lot to say about how couples come together, how they fight, how we can communicate better, and all that kind of stuff. So let's watch Love is Blind, Season 1, Episode 6.
Spit on you.
I keep being naked in front of the window, and I'm like, oh, I forget I live in an apartment now.
Yeah, that's my problem too.
My bad. My bad.
Sorry, guys. It's always naked. So what's up? How are things?
Things are okay. Things are okay. I'm not there. You know what I mean? Like, me and Mark are so dissimilar that it's like, yeah, I mean, we're 10 years apart. We're like...
Different decades.
Different decades. Like, you name it. Like, we're different. And
Why did you say yes then?
Shit. I think I was coming down off of
Caught
us.
up in the experience.
There were 48 hours in the day. I thought about you for like 46 of those hours. Like, it was insane.
Yeah.
I was like, I was so high on that. And then and you said no, I didn't feel the same way. And I was coming off of that. Like, I was like, okay, this is what I've always gone after, and it's not worked. And here I am, and this person's liked me since day one. And then I was like, oh, this person's loved me since the beginning. Like, it's so, like, my whole life playing out, and, like, maybe I should just go with that. Like,
I understand where she's coming from. It's human. I imagine a lot of people watching this show judge Jessica quite a bit. She's, she sort of liked Mark in the pods, but she really liked Barnett. She hoped Barnett would propose to her in the end. He didn't. Actually, Jessica rejected Mark, thinking that Barnett was going to ask her. Barnett did not. Jessica was very angry and upset. Then she immediately goes back to Mark and says, please, propose to me again, Mark. And then when they meet each other, Jessica says repeatedly, he's not my type, I'm not attracted to him, I don't want to kiss him, I don't want to have sex with him. Mark is doing all this fighting. And now Jessica is drinking. She seems to be intoxicated, which isn't always the best idea on reality TV. I have a feeling the producers feed them a lot of alcohol because it makes for good content. And Jessica is now confessing to Barnett that she thinks about him a lot and had a lot of feelings for him. And basically it's not working with Mark. Even though just earlier in this episode, she professed that she was back into Mark. So it's always hard to tell with these shows. Are these people just playing it up because they know that it makes for good content? If I'm going to take it at face value, my hypothesis has been for a while now that Jessica and Mark both lack differentiation. They lack a connection with who they are. They have a hard time sort of knowing what they feel and how to express that. They have a hard time navigating closeness without resorting to defenses that hurt and scare the other person. And in this instance, we're seeing that Jessica is confessing that she's into Barnett, she's not into Mark, and he's like, well, why did you say yes to Mark then? And she's like, well, I don't know. I was coming off of You and Me, and I was sad, so I went to him. Most people in this situation, or not most people, differentiated people who are connected with themselves and know what they want and have a clear direction in life, a mature person would, that Jessica I don't think is, would be able to be like, yeah, you know what? Barnett doesn't like me. I liked him. Mark liked me. I don't like him. There's nothing for me left here. I should probably leave the show. Jessica almost did it a couple episodes ago. She told Mark she was done. And then Mark fought for her, and because Jessica lacks a connection with who she is deep down, a connection with that, she's easily swayed by Mark. And then in the face of Barnett, now she's swinging all over the place. Again, Maybe she's putting on a show because she's on a reality TV show. It doesn't look that way to me, honestly. So I feel bad for Jessica, and I feel bad for Mark. Now, a common refrain from society against Jessica is, oh, she's playing games, she's manipulative, da-da-da. You can make those cases, I suppose, but the way I see this is we have someone, and she's talked about this, she is lonely. She hasn't had success with close relationships. She wants a close relationship. And she doesn't know what to do. And because one of the things that I haven't said yet is to fully let go of Mark is to let go of this shining beacon of ego gratification. Mark is in love with her. He thinks she's beautiful. He's willing to marry her. He does anything she wants him to do. And that feels good because when you're lonely, you need something and you're just kind of desperate, even though deep down you're like, I don't know if this is such a good idea. Because sometimes it's better to have something than nothing, even if the something isn't ideal. So I just feel bad for Jessica. I wish that she could find someone who she did like and that liked her back.
Oh.
Oh, the other thing I should say is that she's intoxicated often on the show, and often there's these quips that, or these philosophies or these ideas that go around in common culture that when you're drunk, you're more honest. A drunk man's words is a sober man's thoughts. And although that certainly can be true sometimes, it also is true that when you're intoxicated, certain systems of the brain are impaired significantly to the point where you're not exactly yourself. If you've ever overdrank and you've done it enough times, you know that you will do and say things sometimes while intoxicated that aren't really just in line with who you really are. Maybe you got a little violent, maybe you got a little wordy, maybe you got a little sexual, who knows. But now, sometimes that can be an expression of something that you're repressing, something that you're pushing back. But sometimes you just do random things. You have impulses when you're drunk, and you don't have the system of the brain that checks those impulses, and you just do things. And so it's possible that Jessica is revealing her true feelings right now, that, she's being very honest with herself and with Barnett that, I was really into you. And I still have feelings for you, and I'm not into Mark. Maybe that's her true feelings, or certain things are getting out of whack for her. She's in the presence of Barnett, and because she lacks a sense of self, the person she's around, she kind of moves into. And she's with Barnett, so she's kind of moving into him. And once she's separate from Barnett, she might move into Mark again, and, who knows what the real Jessica would feel, because maybe she's not really in connection with that.
Sounds like it's meant to be.
I know. So how are you feeling about Amber? Is she everything you expected?
She's actually, it's more than I expected, so, which is good. She definitely gets me out of my comfort zone.
You never struck me as the person that would go for Amber. And it's weird to see it all come together. I'm like,
you told me that a couple
shit.
times.
Do you feel like you guys are emotionally connected? Like, I know y'all are obviously physically, and what I don't want is for you to feel some sort of physical, sexual thing that and then you're married and 2 weeks down the road, you're like, fuck, I don't have things in common with this person on an intellectual level. I want to make sure that y'all are there.
I know it may seem like we're always on top of each other and stuff, but we're not.
Oh, shenanigans. Where's...
They're over there talking.
I do just want to revisit for a minute, the fact that you were so confused 2 weeks ago. I want to make sure that you're doing what's right for you.
I found someone who's gonna love me 100% no matter what.
I think so too. Her whole life is you. That's it. Her whole life is you.
I know.
You deserve it.
Hey, how's that rim job though? How's that rim job though?
And When she's all over me and hugging me and kissing me, it confuses the fuck out of me. What?
Does it feel pretty natural, like living together now? Like, do you feel like it's pretty comfortable?
Why keep looking at me? Go ahead.
I mean, yeah, we've had some difficulties, just like adjusting. It's more so me, because I'm used to being alone.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Lauren's like a roadblock.
Well,
She's like,
fuck you, Damien. I can see that. You being a lonely, bitter hag.
no, I just like,
What is wrong with you? Damien, what?
I just try to put a smile on people's faces, and sometimes saying awkward, unconventional things
Yeah.
that brings out the best in people.
It does.
And I'm not afraid to do that.
It's great.
Yeah. So sarcastic? You mean that?
No, I totally mean that.
Positive
Stop putting her on the spot.
I know, like, very awkward.
I picked up that the conversation was awkward. That caused me to feel uncomfortable towards my fiance.
I don't know how I feel. I'm confused by the whole conversation. Gigi and Damien are like the Da Vinci Code. It's hard to crack.
I'm not lying when I say that I'm still trying to read you.
The problem is you're reading into things too much.
I am, but I feel like I don't have a choice, and it's really bothering me. When I feel things like we're being awkward and like, I didn't like that.
You pull me up and talk to me. You don't make a scene about it by walking off. Janine is the love of my life. We've built such a strong connection, and I'm scared of losing that. I'm scared of losing her.
So I didn't stomp off because I had a little bitch fit. I stomped off because I was like, I'm not processing things correctly, so I left.
You said I made things awkward, but all of them were sitting there like, what just happened with her?
So you want to know the reason why I walked away? Was because I don't care what goes on in there and what makes it awkward, and because you feel like things are awkward and that's fine for you, I didn't feel like it was comfortable, right? So what I said was, that's not what she felt.
How do you know what she felt? You're not Lauren.
This couple, Damien and Gigi, have had previous tense conversations. And in the previous tense conversations, they managed it pretty well. They de-escalated, there was physical contact, there was emotions, there was vulnerability. In this one, right away, they're escalating the conversation. I'm not exactly sure why. Again, as a skeptic, I'm always like, did the producers put them up to us? They need that mid-season fight between these two people. Who knows? But if we're going to take it at face value, so what happened was Damien and Gigi, this couple, were talking with this other couple, and there was an awkward moment, and Gigi was like, I don't like that, and she walked away. Damien comes over and says, what's up? And she's like, that was awkward, I didn't like it. That's a good statement. It was awkward, I didn't like it, I walked away. He says, well, you didn't have to stomp off like that. Now, a more vulnerable way to say that, a statement that would give Gigi an opportunity to actually rise to the occasion, is Damien could have said, well, Gigi, when you walked away, it hurt my feelings because it felt like humiliating to me. I would have wished you would have just said it was awkward and maybe helped me out in that situation because I didn't really know what to do. But when you walked away, it really hurt my feelings. It sort of reminds me of things that have happened to me in the past where people just like rejected me and walked away. You're free to walk away when you feel awkward, but I just wanted you to know how it hurt my feelings. It's not a big deal, but I just wanted you to know that. But that's not what he says. What he's like, you don't have to walk away. He's very firm. And then she, instead of saying something like, okay, when it was awkward, I felt like it was your fault, and I didn't know what to do because I'm not so secure as a young woman. And so I just left, and I'm sorry I left. I probably shouldn't have left, but I just didn't know what to do because I was kind of freaking out because I don't like awkward situations. So you see there's a way to take ownership for your feelings that gives the other person a chance to rise to the occasion. And by rise to the occasion, I mean when your partner tells you that they are scared or affected or insecure or hurt, it gives, and you really receive that, it gives you a chance to rise to the occasion and care for and have compassion for the other person. If you don't alert the other person to your awkwardness, your pain, your hurt, your fear, your worries, then you're coming across like you're just making this choice. Well, you were awkward and I just walked away from you because that was weird of you. And at no point in that communication can Damien get the impression like that Gigi actually was scared or she didn't know what to do. For Damien to be like, well, you just walked off, you know, like you shouldn't be doing that. At no point does that give Gigi the message of like, when you walked off, it really hurt my feelings. And so there's accusations, it escalates, she's standing up right now. I don't know what's going to happen here. I hope they return to the functional communication that they had before. Let's rewind a little bit.
You want to know the reason why I walked away? Was because I don't care what goes on in there and what makes it awkward, and because you feel like things are awkward and that's fine for you. I didn't feel like it was comfortable, right?
So we see lots of hand gestures. That's kind of an aggressive move. She's raising her voice. It's you know what it is? Lots of fast talking. This indicates a stress level for her, and she's probably scared and hurt and worries about things. The other thing I'll point out is that there's an indication that Damien might have some issues with slight narcissism. Of course, I can't diagnose from afar. Who knows the real Damien, but what's presented on the show, it was for people who suffer from a narcissistic coping style. When they're humiliated socially, it can be really triggering for them. And so for her to walk away from him, that might have pushed him into a zone where he's so hurt that he puts up walls and fails to be vulnerable like he was before. So let's see what happens here.
What I said was, that's not what she felt.
How do you know what she felt? You're not Lauren.
Listen to me. Stop interrupting me. Please, for the love of God.
Well, stop speaking for everyone else and speak for G. That's what you need to do. You're not. You're speaking for everyone else.
You're
That's
not
what you're
listening
doing.
to me.
Because you're speaking.
Okay, so in previous episodes, I've talked about how, as a couple therapist, I observe these fights professionally all the time, and as a human being, I've been in fights like this before, and there are different phases to escalation, and they're in like phase 2 or 3 right now. There's a point in a fight when you cross the Rubicon and you're no longer in a zone where it's likely that you're going to be able to pull it back. And as you know, a couple exchanges ago was when they crossed that line. And when you cross that line, the attitude becomes, I'm going to win this fight. I'm going to say the words that are going to put the other person in their place, and they will have to surrender to my points. It's a totally natural thing. Everyone does this. Me and Umberto have done this live on the podcast before. And when we try to win in a situation like this, we always lose. And it's a mindset of defense. We're putting up walls. We're hurt, we're scared, and we're going on the attack. You know, you scare a dog, it's gonna get nasty at you. It's not that the dog wants to be nasty, it's because the dog is scared. Right now, these two people are really scared. I can't imagine what it would be like to be on camera as well. And so they've crossed the line. Now, everything they're saying is destructive. Again, I talk with a lot of couples about this. They'll say, yeah, we were in a fight last week, and, you know, he said that, and then she said that, you know, and I'll always say, well, were you already kind of heated in that moment? And they'll be like, yeah. And I'll say, well, it's hard to hold anyone accountable for what they say when they are that heated, because you're so hurt and you're so scared, you're so activated, you're so triggered. All those past traumas are coming up, and you're swinging and you're defending yourself. And although we're always responsible for our behavior and we should apologize, we shouldn't necessarily take it to heart, because the kinds of things that come out of our face when we're in that state usually isn't reflective of how we truly feel. Sometimes it is, but it often isn't. And I worry about these two.
For everyone else.
You're not listening. You're not even letting me talk.
You're bringing me down.
You're bringing me down. You're not letting me speak, and you're not listening to me.
I have been listening.
Motherfucker.
So those kinds of statements like, you're bringing me down. You're bringing me down. Like, how is that helpful? You know, That doesn't help anything. Like I said, you've crossed that line. You're just trying to win, and of course, you're both losing.
Listen for 2 seconds.
I have listened to you since the day we walked into the pause together.
Not in person.
Process.
Not in person. This is what we're missing. We were wondering what was missing. Social situations. Because I don't like to be in awkward situations, which you willingly do.
The difference is, G, is when things are too good. When things are comfortable, you self-sabotage, as you always say, and you don't care what you destruct in the process. You don't care if you bring me down.
If I
do
didn't
nothing
care
to try to bring
about
out the best
bringing
in
you
you.
down, then I would have called you out, and I would have been like, that was awkward.
We've talked about this. No, we've talked about it.
Why didn't I do that?
We've talked about it.
Walker, listen to me.
My fucking heart.
So it's not a good sign when someone uses curse words. I'm a fan of curse words, as you know, to the lament of some listeners. But in the midst of a fight, if you escalate to that point where you're standing up and you're using a lot of hand gestures and you're using motherfucker and that is obviously destructive. That sort of behavior as a couples therapist, I try to curb. Usually in the first phase of therapy, I'm trying to reduce moments like this for couples. They often come to me having been in fights like this for 10 years. And it's escalated to a point where it's pretty bad for them. Not always. Some people come in early in their relationship and save themselves from escalating to this. But a lot of times people have been through these kinds of fights for 10 years and they come to me. And so the first phase of therapy is like, how do you not have moments like this? Because if you have moments like this, then all bets are off. No matter how much intimacy we build, when you have events like this, it's just going to wipe that all away. So a lot of times we're working on, okay, how do we separate in a situation like that? How do we not, how do we control the words that we say? How do we notice our distress level and try to reduce it? How do we not be defensive? How do we not have contempt in our mind? How do we have at least non-destructive narratives? Usually that's all we can help is sort of like, how do we get rid of the bad thing? It's hard to add the good thing in the midst of the bad thing. And then usually once the bad thing has gone away, then I can start working on the good stuff, which is increasing intimacy, increasing understanding, increasing maybe sexual activity, that kind of thing. So, yeah, that's just what I think of when I see this happening right now.
Heart feels like it's breaking right now.
Scenario. I love you.
Mm-mm. What happened earlier?
I was just with Gigi all night and it was crazy. And so I had to talk to her tonight. I had to.
Oh.
She's the greatest.
Talking about you being the greatest. That was kind of a compliment. I'm not saying that.
You don't say somebody's a close second.
No, that's not what I meant.
This is a girl I look at like literally as my little sister.
Baby.
You're a close second.
Babe.
How's that? You're a close
You're
second.
taking that the wrong way. Babe. Seriously, I did not mean it like that. Stop. Listen, straight up. All I was talking about was you. I'm sorry that it was a bad joke. I apologize for that.
It's the worst.
I know they signed up to be on a reality TV show and they probably really enjoy the fact that they're famous now. That's why people go on reality TV shows. I don't think anyone is ignorant of the fact that all of their dirty laundry is going to be aired for the entire world to see. But watching this, it's hard to watch. I mean, I just feel bad for people who have these kinds of awkward moments portrayed. Maybe they like that kind of thing. I don't know. But if it was me, if one of my fights like this had been recorded for, eternity for everyone to watch and scrutinize, that would be rough.
Okay.
Honestly, literally, she's older than you, and she's beautiful and amazing.
And you're beautiful and amazing.
Literally, you're like, oh, she's a close second.
No,
like, get the
that's
fuck
not
outta
what I was
here.
trying to say like that.
I think Barnett is fucking sexy and like hot and like.
What the fuck is
I'm
that?
just
You're
saying,
insulting me like that. Don't insult me like that. Are you fucking kidding me?
Baby.
I'm good. It's confusing as hell. It's confusing. I don't know what she wants.
It's confusing if you choose to believe that she's into you when there's a lot of information saying she's not. There's some indication saying that she is, but it's pretty spotty information. She just said she thought Barnett was super hot and that he was a close second. I mean, ugh, that is rough. All right, so that's the end of episode 6, season 1, Love is Blind. Thanks for joining me. It's been fun. Tune in next time for episode 7. And also, if you haven't become a patron of the podcast, do so now. Go to patreon.com. When you become a patron, you get access to all of our best episodes. We have over 1,000 episodes, and about 300 of them, which are probably our best episodes, are only available to patrons. So if you want to get access to all that stuff, become a patron of the podcast by going to patreon.com. And please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.